Hi guys, and welcome to today's behind the scenes look from the gardening products review. I'm going to be sharing with you today a look at some of the self-watering planters that we're evaluating. So you're going to get the straight scoop on these before anyone else does, even before we publish the reviews. So stay tuned to see what those look like. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Monica Hemingway. I'm the founder and the editor of the Gardening Products Review. And over the last 5 years, I have pretty much seen it all. Pretty much every tool out there, every kind of planter. So you're going to get the straight scoop from me. You're going to get all the facts and, not just the marketing PR. So let's jump in and let me show you what it is that we're going to see today. So let me turn the TV, let me turn this around. Okay, so let's just start with this. So this is just a normal planter, right? So this is what you would normally be planting in, and hole in the bottom, you fill it with soil, and you water it from the top and hope for the best, right? Well, especially here in really hot places like Tucson, that doesn't work so well. So I'm testing out a bunch of things that water from the bottom. So here is the first thing we're testing out, and this is the Rolling U Garden from Gardener Supply. It's kind of cool. It's got a wheel, and you can wheel it around, and what it has in the bottom is this kind of grid system here. So the soil is going to sit on top of this, and underneath there's a hose right here, and so you just attach a hose pipe to it, and you'll fill the bottom of this thing up with water, and then that is supposed to somehow evaporate up into the potting mix that sits there. I went out and bought a few plants yesterday because I didn't have anything to plant in it, so I'm going with kind of a tropical theme here. So anyhow, the problem with this, as I see it, is the potting soil, there's a layer of fabric that goes on top, and the potting soil sits on top of that. I don't see how it's going to evaporate up into the potting mix. So Gardener Supply says it will just evaporate. I think it's just going to sit down there and turn into kind of, yucky water. So what I'm doing is I've got these capillary mats, and you can buy these pretty much anywhere that sells seed starting supplies and things like that. And I'm going to put those across this and have them go down right like that into the water. And the idea being they're going to wick water out of this reservoir at the bottom onto the capillary mat, and then it gets wicked up by the soil. So that's my first thought. I put this thing together last weekend. If you haven't seen the unboxing video, there is one for that. It was easy enough to put together, and now we're just going to see how it works. So my first thought is it's probably going to be okay with the wicking strips in it. So I'll let you know later how that's turning out. So now, self-watering containers. That is a normal container, but a normal planter. But if you take a look, there's an insert that I've put in it. So this is something that you can buy. I get them at Gardener Supply. I buy them there. They're like 25 bucks. And it goes down inside here, and it's like to about there. So the potting soil is up here. There's like a platform that goes in there with a tub, and water goes in that. And then it tells you how much water there is or isn't in it. So that's pretty cool. So that's something I really recommend getting. So let's go take a look around the garden. And here we've got two planters. They kind of look the same, I guess, right? They're both purple. So the one on the left is the earth box, and the one on the right is the grow box. So they're pretty similar. They're both in purple, and we're going to be testing them out. We already tested out the grow box here, and you can see you put the water in the bottom here in the grow box, and then it waters the soil up on top. That works pretty well. The earth box, on the other hand, and I haven't put it together yet, but it has a spout, a fill tube that goes here. And so what you do is you pour the water in from the top. So two very different ways of filling up your self-watering planters. I'm thinking that this one, the earth box, is going to work a little better, partially because when you put the water in from the top, it's a lot easier to just pour straight down than it is to take your hose, and you've got a a hose nozzle on it and then try to stick it in that opening in the front of the grow box. So that's just my thought right now. I do like the grow box very much, but I'm really curious about the earth box as well. So why don't you let me know in the comments below, what do you think is going to work better? The grow box on the right with the watering hole in the front, or the earth box on the left that's going to have a fill tube and you water it from the top? Just let me know in the comments, and then we'll see how it turns out. Okay, so walking through, this is going to be the veggie garden. This is something else. This is a special trellis that we're just starting to test, so I'll show that to you in another week. But this here is a really cool planter. This is called the True Drop system from Crescent Gardens. And this is their dot planter. It's got dots on the side. And what I really like is that it's got this fill indicator that shows you how much water there is in it. So there are these blue things, and there are 3 of them. The downside here is, as you can see, you get condensation in it. So it was a little cool last night, and we got all this condensation in it, which makes it kind of hard to see. So I'm kind of wondering how that's going to do over the season, and I don't know. Right now I'm liking it. I put water in this thing 2 weeks ago. It's got a kumquat tree in it, and Jack's been eating these babies. They're pretty tart. I don't like them, but he loves them. I watered it 2 weeks ago, and right now it says it's still 2/3 full, and if you check the soil, it's still pretty good. So I'm thinking that here in the summer, this pot might do really well because it is hollow, right? So it's got 2 walls, so it's kind of insulating it in between, which is really awesome, both in really hot weather and in cold weather as well. This is where you fill it up. My one thing about this is that's a kind of a small hole to fill it up with water, and if you've got a hose nozzle that you're using, this is a pain in the neck. The other thing is it's not that easy to remove it. You kind of need a screwdriver or something, or you need really strong fingers. So although I love this pot, right now there are a few things that I'm kind of uncertain about. So jury's still out on that. I'm going to leave it for the summer, and then at the end of the summer, I'll share with you how it did through the heat. It might be absolutely perfect, and I don't care about the small hole for watering it. So stay tuned to see how that one turns out, but initial thoughts are it works really, really well, but it's got some issues with trying to get water into it. So again, that's the True Drop system from Crescent Gardens. Okay, so here is the vegetable garden. We've got a raised bed. Can't really garden in the ground here with veggies because we've got really hard clay soil. And then that's the elevated bed from Gardener's Supply. I've had it now for three years. This thing is still going strong. I love it. It's not self-watering though. So one of the downsides of a system like that one, you can see it's above the ground, is that it dries out here in the summer, which means I can't use it in the summer. So I'm going to see if I can convert that into self-watering. But here is my next favorite planter. Now this is called the Veggie Pod. It's made by an Australian company, and it's not exactly self-watering, but it does have the bottom part here. So it's kind of this ugly black thing, right? But this bottom part that you see right down here, that's a water reservoir. So when you water it from the top, that fills up with water, and it continues to water your plants for quite a while. So you don't have to water it very often, which I absolutely love, especially here in the heat. And it comes with this really neat cover, which again is really great here in Tucson because the birds eat just about everything. So I'm growing beans in here, and we've got 3 different kinds of zucchini growing in the corners. And I do have an irrigation line going into it, which, you know, I water twice a week, and that's about it. So that Veggie Pod system so far is really awesome. The one negative that we found is this leg. And apparently they were having some problems with quality control a little bit, and sometimes some of the legs are a little wonky. So you can see it's not exactly straight. But other than that, and other than the fact that I don't really like the look of it, this is a fantastic system, this veggie pod. So we are going to give it a really, really good rating when we put out the review in a couple of months. So stay tuned for that review, and let's move on. Okay, so here is another self-watering container. So this one is kind of like the grow box in that you water it in the front. This is the tomato success system from Gardener's Supply. And there used to be a cover on this, like right here. That used to be a cover. Problem with that is it broke. It fell off. It's in pieces somewhere. So that isn't very helpful, that cover. Just know that it's not going to do very much for you. But you don't really need it. We did have some lizard get in there, which isn't great, which is why I like the cover. But other than that, it worked pretty well. So at this point, I think you're probably getting the idea that some of these planters have some really great features, but every single one of them so far has some sort of negative point. They're not perfect, and we have yet to find one that is perfect, but there are some of them that are really good. And so I'm going to show you one that I really like. I've had this one for a year. I just got a new one, and this thing has been terrific, and so far I have no issues with it. So what is it? It's this. So this is the galvanized planter, again from Gardener's Supply. They make a lot of self-watering containers, which is why I have a lot of them. It looks really great. It's been sitting out here in the sun for over a year. We have a pomegranate in it, and that's just starting to leaf out. Jack just pruned it the other day, and it's doing great. Sweet potato vine in there as well. And why I wanted to show this to you right now is it's got a water reservoir in the bottom, like down here. But check this out. So this is the fill tube, and you can see I have my irrigation system going straight into it. And the irrigation system is on right now, so that's a 2-gallon emitter that's just going straight down into the fill tube, and that's it. So I never have to water this thing. It has a water indicator, you can see right there, and before the irrigation went on, it was down at empty. So this fills up in about an hour, and that's it, which is really nice. So that's one thing to keep in mind with these self-watering containers, that if you can put an irrigation system, a drip system into it, you don't ever have to water it. So this again is the galvanized planter from Gardener's Supply, and we just got a new one, the elevated one. It's on wheels. I planted it up with some red and yellow flowers. This is our little lemon tree that is flowering like mad. It smells so great. So this sits on wheels, so it moves around. Two of the wheels are locking, which I don't know if you can see, but right down here, those wheels lock, which is really nice because you don't want this thing rolling around. And it also has two fill tubes, one at each side. So that's, you put the water in there. The thing I am not liking about this one so much as compared to the planter is that this one leaks. Now they all leak, really. I mean, that you want excess water to flow out, but this one drips from underneath, and that's kind of a bummer. So just be aware of that. If you're going to use this elevated planter, know that it's going to sort of randomly just drip water out the bottom, and it's really hard to figure out why. It's not sealed at the bottom. So well, there's that. So it works really well as a self-watering planter. It just leaks. Okay, so here's a sort of a view of the garden here in Arizona. We're in Tucson. It's zone 9B probably where we are. So I've got a lot of things blooming already, which is really nice. The roses are starting to come out, the lavatiera. So for those of you who are watching this video, I mean, we're here in Tucson. Let me know where you are. So leave a comment in the comments below and let me know where you're watching this from, and then I can kind of tailor things to where you are. I know we have readers and viewers from all around the world, which is awesome. So I'd love to hear where you're from. Okay, so here we go. Last three self-watering containers. This one I really like. I've had this one. I bought this about 4 or 5 years ago, and it is called the Viva Balcony or Railing Planter, also from Gardener Supply. You can see it has a fill tube. I mean, an indicator. This one does not have a fill tube. So this is one that you're going to just water from on top, and when it starts to get too full, it will overflow. There's underneath there are some drain holes. This thing works really well, and you can see after, what is it, four or 5 years now, it still looks like new. I have it over here because when I put it over the wall, the birds ate everything that was in it. So it's sitting here, but this one is a terrific planter if you've got a balcony railing or a fence or a wall around your garden that you want to put a planter on of some sort and you don't want to have to water it all the time. I really recommend this one. This one would definitely get a 5-star rating. And then behind it, you see the Terrazza Trough Planter, also from Gardener Supply. There's kind of a theme here, right? They do not sponsor us. There's no relationship there. I just get a lot of their products because some of these really work well. So this is a planter. It is a self-watering planter. It kind of just looks like a raised bed, right? But it isn't. There's a bottom to it with a water reservoir. And you can see the plumbago in here is growing really, really well. There is in this one also, if I can find it for you, there is a fill tube. And inside it is again, an indicator. This is a float system, kind of floats and lets you know how full the water is. And I did have the irrigation going straight into that one as well. So I never have to water this container either manually. It just fills up through that fill tube. So that's one of the beauties of these self-watering containers, is that, you know, if you put your irrigation in it, you don't have to think about it. It's kind of a set it and forget it type of thing, which is really, really nice. So why don't you let me know in the comments below if you use self-watering planters. Do you use any containers like that where you don't have to water it? And if so, what is your favorite one? If we haven't reviewed it already, or if we're not testing it, I'd love to try it out. Or maybe you would like to write a review for us if you've got a fantastic self-watering container. So just leave a comment for that. And then here's the last one I'm going to show you. This is one I've had for about 6 or 7 years now. It's from a company called Lechuza. They're sort of a premium company in terms of the products that they make. So, meaning they are not inexpensive, but definitely well worth it. This one still looks absolutely terrific. We did a review of that one probably about 4 years ago, so you can find that on the Gardening Products Review website. And also, right, so it's got the same thing. It's got a fill tube and it's got an indicator, and you would just water into that fill tube and forget it. So this one, I fill it up maybe, I don't know, once a week right now. In the middle of the summer, I'll be filling it up more often than that, but it doesn't take very much work at all to do it. So just a little bit more view of the test garden here. We try growing a lot of different things. You can see we have a lot of containers here. Here's another container, and this one, again, it's a normal pot that got purchased, and then you put the insert in it, the self-watering insert. And again, the irrigation, you can see, is dripping straight into that. So it makes it really, really easy. But I couldn't grow anything here in containers if I didn't have a self-watering system for it. So that I'll be talking about in another couple of weeks. I'm growing, or will be growing, 30 peppers in 2 square feet. So that's pretty cool. This is a lime tree. And so that's pretty much it in terms of the self-watering containers in the garden. So again, we're testing them out. If we haven't done a review already, you'll see one coming pretty soon. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. What would you like us to review next, right? What would you like to see on the next Facebook Live? So I'm doing this every Sunday morning, same time, same place. Just going to be covering a different topic here in the garden, so you'll get to see things before anybody else does. And I'd love to hear from you. What do you want to see? Okay, so until then, leave a comment, let me know what you want to see, and if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, go and take a look at that, because we're showing a lot of unboxing videos. So whenever we get a new product, it's going to be right there on YouTube, so you'll get a chance to see it before we even do any evaluation. And we also have reviews there, so Anything that we're reviewing, you'll see the full review when we publish it, and we have a bunch of how-to videos and neat little things like growing seeds and sharpening pruning tools and stuff like that. So until then, have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next Sunday right here on the Sunday stroll around the GPR Test Garden. Bye for now.